Bungie just dropped a TWAB today detailing some major changes coming to PvP and a few changes for PvE as well. And I want to unpack it in this video, and I want to do it relatively quickly and give you the rundown as a viewer and as a player of the game. So we'll dive right in, and before we do, this is coming from a PvP player's perspective, so I'm not going to care as much about the PvE changes, and I'll make that very clear in the video. And I'm also going to raise some of my concerns, and I'll explain in a little bit why last word is in the thumbnail of this video. So let's get right into it. So they started off with the ability sandbox, and I'm going to try and fly through this. They nerfed Threaded Spectre. It's going to have a longer cooldown now, but not in PvE, and Ensnaring Slam is actually getting buffed as a result of that as well in PvE. But for PvP, Threaded Spectre should be charging slower. Threadlings on top of that are getting nerfed. They're going to be easier to hit. They're going to do less damage with both base damage and the fragment, and there's a few issues that they fixed with them where they wouldn't break properly. So they're all being fixed. They should be easier to break. They should be pretty bad now, which is a good thing because in my opinion, they should have never been added into the game in the first place. Threadlings are a terrible idea, and I really don't know why they even implemented them. They're just a complete nuisance in PvP and kind of stupid in PvE. I don't know if people really like using them that much, but it's beyond me. I don't really care. They're getting nerfed, which is a good thing. To offset that, they're buffing the Warlock Strand melee. Don't care about that much either. I don't use Strand Warlock in PvP. These buffs do sound pretty major, so it should be a lot more consistent at hitting people. But again, I don't care. Restoration and Radiant are getting their timers fixed, so they no longer reset when you pick up like a fire sprite and stuff like that. Good change there. They did have to do a few nerfs to offset that buff, but it should result in an overall buff to those abilities, which is not a good thing for PvE because they're absolutely broken, and for PvP it shouldn't really have much of an impact. Consecration, which is the Titan solar aspect that gives you like a slide melee, is getting buffed, and it's getting buffed in a major way. They're increasing its range, and they're also increasing what I think the most important part is the speed of its slam. When you slammed the ground previously, it was pretty slow and avoidable, the wave that it would send out, but it's getting increased from 16 meters per second to 24. That's a 50% increase in speed, so it should be very hard to avoid now, and I'd look out for this in PvP. People might be using this to set up some pretty nasty multi-kills, because this primes you for an ignition and ignites you if you get hit by both parts of the melee, so we'll see about that. Gunpowder Gamble got a little improvement. You won't hurt yourself as much with it anymore. And then we're going to get in the weapon sandbox next. Okay, so getting into the weapon sandbox, I'm going to try and get through this quickly too, so I can get to the PvP portion where they talk about some really sweeping changes. But for the weapon sandbox, they are correcting an issue with heavy burst stand cannons. The only one currently is Warden's Law, where they had 25% less aim assist on mouse and keyboard while you were hip firing or in the air. That was definitely not an issue, as they say here. That was absolutely intended, and they just finally felt bad enough to revert it, so thanks for doing that. They'll still be terrible. For bows, they reduced their auto-aim fall-off distance start and end by 15%. If you don't understand that, they basically will be harder to use from farther away. You'll have to aim right at the head in order to hit a headshot, which is a good thing. They also reduced the maximum auto-aim cone size by 5%, so that's just a straight-up nerf, 5% harder to use. Very good, and honestly, probably not enough. We'll see. But there is further stuff regarding bows. For Breakneck, they added in target lock to the 4th perk column. For lightweight scouts, they're going to 3 crit 1 body now instead of 4 crits. Doesn't matter. Sniper rifles, they reduced the auto aim cone size by 10%. We'll see how much of a change that is. Snipers are very strong right now. They're extremely oppressive when you're playing a good player, and we'll see if that really makes them require a lot more accuracy or not. 10% really doesn't seem like a lot, but we'll see. For rocket launchers, 2 of the terrible archetypes, the 15 rounds per minute archetypes, are getting their ammo reserves increased by 2, and for precisions, they're actually getting their damage penalty reduced a little bit. High impacts are getting moved to be more of a blast radius oriented frame that can do a lot of damage in a big radius, so they'll be better for ad clear, and we'll see how it affects these exotics they listed here. I think Truth is a precision, so it should get a 5% damage buff and 2 more rockets, and I don't know about Gallahorn and Deathbringer. We'll see. Shouldn't really matter though, but we'll see. Heavy grenade launchers are getting their reserves increased, and some changes to spike grenades that I don't care about. Shouldn't result in too much of a change. They're just going to have more grenades now, and I don't care. Waveframe grenade launchers, this is cool. They're increasing their damage by 20%, but they're increasing the wave width by 40%. That's the one thing that confused me about these. I think there's only one of them right now. The wave is like the same size as a special ammo waveframe grenade launcher, which is pathetic. Like, it should be bigger, and it will be now, so that'll be cool. Caster swords are getting a small buff. They're still going to be garbage. Vigilance Wings gain deterministic recoil. This is very good. Should allow you to master the weapon better, and I think this is actually going to become more of an option after this change, so look out for that. Vex Mythic class is getting its ADS damage fall off scalar increased from 1.5 to 1.7 times. If you don't know what that is, when you ADS in this game, you have more range. So when they increase the damage fall off scalar, they're increasing your range even further while ADSing. So Vex has like 20 meters while hip firing, while ADS it has 30, because it's typically a 50% increase once you ADS, but now it's a 70% increase, which is going to be around 34 meters. So that's a 4 meter range buff to Vex Mythic class. So keep your eye out on that. Wish Ender. This change is cool. They're basically making it deactivate its true sight a lot quicker. And I think this change is going to prevent you from being able to constantly slightly undraw the bow and redraw it. If you didn't know, you could fully draw a bow and then kind of like walk, reload, and then redraw, and it just keeps refreshing the perfect draw period, which allows you to have like infinite wall hacks with this. I think this is a fix for that. So people are going to have to fully redraw the bow each time to get like 3 seconds of wall hacks, which we'll see. We'll see. That gun's really stupid. Edge of Action, they're buffing the bubble in PvE. They're giving it more DR. That's kind of cool. Manticore got a change. They're tweaking it so that you can deactivate the anti-gravity thrusters easier with this special reload. And they're also changing how it activates in the first place. You actually have to shoot someone now and be in the air for a certain amount of time, so you can't accidentally activate it anymore. And then for PvE, you're actually going to be less likely to be targeted by combatants, just like the Sparrow always on time. So could be cool. And then with the Catalyst, you're also getting a Void Overshield for getting kills and dealing damage. So could be cool in PvE. For PvP though, yeah, we'll see. Exterius is getting a small buff. It's getting 20% damage increase and increase in its maximum fire rate. So once you get enraged, it's going to shoot a little faster. Heal clips going to cure times 2 instead of cure times 1 when you proc it for yourself. Could be good in PvE. Don't know about PvP as much. Trench Barrel will activate on range melee attacks. That perk is a 50% damage buff for your first 3 shotgun shots or until 6 seconds passes. So that could be a pretty big buff for that. You could activate Trench Barrel with a throwing hammer, for instance. Could be cool. Barrel Constrictor. Apparently this actually used to deactivate upon firing your first shot, even though it lasted 7.5 seconds. So once you shot, it just went away. Now it's just going to last 7.5 seconds. It won't deactivate it anymore. The fact that it even deactivated in the first place is so funny to me. All this perk does is reduce your pellet spread by 20%. In PvP, this is like so irrelevant. I'm sure it's like a small range increase, but with what they're doing to the special ammo economy, you're rarely even going to be able to get a shotgun kill and then capitalize on this perk. So it's just meaningless. Loose Change is getting a buff for PvP, which I never thought they'd even try to do that, but they're going to have it give you plus 20 aim assist and the ADS movement speed penalty reduction. Also on top of the 50 reload that it already gives, so could slot into Gear Falcon builds pretty well. We'll see. Dual Loader is no longer going to have a reload speed penalty. It's about time. And I'm thinking they're going to put this on 120 Scout Rifles since they also load in, 1 round at a time. See how that plays out. Could be good on the do Trial Scout. And Text Balance Stock is getting buffed. Out of all the things in the TWAB, or at least out of all the things in the Weapons Sandbox section, this is the one that I care about the most. Text Balance Stock is now going to give you 20 range and an actual improvement to your hip fire precision cone angle. Before it gave you like 20 handling, 20 reload, and an ADS movement speed penalty reduction. So it was actually encouraging you to hip fire and then just switch to ADS. But now it's actually going to encourage you to stay hip firing. The issue I have with this perk is that it takes 4 shots to activate. So on something like a 120 Scout, you either already killed the person in 3 shots, or you're dead because it takes forever to fire 4 shots. So I don't really get the point of that. I think this is a perk that needs to activate much quicker and last longer, or even just be perpetual. So we'll see. It's kind of cool they did this, but I don't think it's going to change anything because the perk has a terrible activation window. I'm just going to basically skip this next part. It's Hake, Breach Armaments, Deconstruct, and Sundering receiving buffs. I do not care about these at all. No one cares about them. Never put any more development time into these perks. They are so unbelievably irrelevant, and they're an embarrassment to this game sandbox. Get them out of here. Screw them. Little buff to Hatchling. Don't care. Target Lock is getting nerfed for SMGs. It's going to take more of the magazine to activate. Meaning, currently, you activate the perk after like 4 shots on most SMGs. Now it's going to take like 5 or 6. So you have to hit 5 or 6 bullets straight to then start getting that damage ramp up. So if you miss any bullet in that window, you lose the damage ramp up. You don't get any benefit from the perk. Should actually be a pretty significant nerf to the perk here. We will see. Envious Assassin's getting nerfed, and I think they're doing this in anticipation for their buff to grenade launcher ammo reserves. So, again, expected. and we'll see. Bait and switch is also getting nerfed by a small amount. Should still be pretty good, but they're nerfing it. 1-2 punch is that, I don't even know what that change is. Deconstruct, don't care. Irrelevant. All right, yeah, we'll get to the Crucible Sandbox section now. This is the part I really wanted to talk about. So they outline a few of their goals with the Crucible. They've been saying crap like this for a long time now and not executing on it, but they're finally going to do something about the issues they have with their sandbox, and here's how they're going to go about it. If you have not played Trials last weekend, it had Checkmate active and an altered version of it, and that version of Checkmate is essentially just becoming the base game. So what is that Checkmate thing I'm talking about? Well, it's a set of modifiers that alter the sandbox completely. One of the ways it alters it is by increasing the Guardian health by 30 hit points. So you have 216 to 230 hit points instead of 186 to 200. So you have more health. Abilities charge 15% slower. Supers charge 20% slower. And in Trials, that basically removes supers from the game entirely. They're already charging pretty slow. Now they're just gone. Like, you're actually gonna have to build into using things like Thresh and Orb Generation and all this stuff, 100 intellect, fast charging supers. You're gonna need all that to get your super consistently, which is good, honestly. Supers are stupid. However, for 6v6, it's really gonna slow down the game. We'll see. Ability damage itself is also getting tweaked to offset the increased health pools. Supers are gonna do more damage, melees are gonna do more damage, but grenades are not. Flux Grenade is. That's the one that one-shots people. They're going to buff it enough to where it continues to one-shot people. But other grenades are not going to get a damage increase, despite people getting 30 more health. So that is a major nerf to grenades. We'll see how that plays out. Should kind of ruin Scatter Grenade, which has been annoying as of late. Then for primary weapons, they're basically increasing all their critical hit damage and leaving their body shot damage, except in certain cases. What this does, basically, it keeps the time to kills in the game the same, but it reduces the forgiveness of weapons significantly. Their body shot time to kills are all getting lowered. How many body shots and headshots you can hit to still reach an optimal time to kill is also getting changed. For most cases, you're just going to have to hit all headshots now to get kills at the optimal TTK. For pulses, autos, sidearms, scouts, hand cannons, all of them. Here's where Last Word comes into play. Last Word does 68 damage. 68 plus that 10% is roughly, at 3 headshots, 224.4 damage. So in this new sandbox, a 3-tap from Last Word will do 225 damage. People can have up to 230 health. Now, I don't know if you're good at math, but that means people have more health than Last Word can deal damage in 3 headshots. Therefore, at high results, Last Word can't even hit a 3-tap. On top of the fact that hand cannons in this new modifier, this new sandbox, have a 5% body shot penalty. So everyone's getting their health increased by 30, and hand cannons aren't even just keeping their body shot damage, it's actually getting reduced. Last Word already has reduced body shot damage, it only does 38. Now it's going to do 36, which means you need to deal 7 body shots to kill someone. That's almost your entire magazine. You can only miss 1 bullet with Last Word to kill with all body shots. Obviously, there's not much point in doing that. You're not going to live long enough to shoot those 7 shots, but that just shows you how unforgiving the gun's going to be now, which isn't a big deal, but it can't even 3-tap people anymore. So that is a big deal. That's a huge problem. The gun has no range. It receives a ton of flinch, and now it can't even 3-tap people. So I can kiss Last Word goodbye. I've been using it a lot lately. It is done. It's dead in the water. Thanks a lot, Bungie. You guys suck, and you're overlooking a weapon completely and ignoring it. And I love the weapon, and it's depressing as hell. I hate that this is going to happen, and hopefully they address it soon, but we'll see. Now, a nice change, and again, this would have been awesome to see that Last Word could still 3-tap, but it can't, because they're reducing the flinch dealt by hand cannons, both with explosive payload and just the base impact, by 12.5% with the base, and then 10% with explosive payload. So hand cannons won't flinch as much. That was another gripe I had with Last Word, is that it got flinched a ton by hand cannons, but it doesn't matter, because the gun won't 3-tap anymore. So bye-bye, Last Word. I had fun using you while you were terrible, but now you're god-awful, so goodbye. Some machine guns did. They also got an increase to their crit, but a reduction to their body shot damage. So pulses, auto, sidearm, scouts will kill at their optimal time to kills and haven't been punished too much body shot-wise. Hand cannons and SMGs have, and bows are getting a straight-up damage reduction of 15%, which is going to really hurt their body shot damage. For example, the slower firing bows, I think they're precisions or whatever, they're going to require a headshot and a body shot to kill in 2 bow shots now. They can't body shot anymore. They won't be able to body shot melee, so they're losing a lot of their previous efficacy. So that's cool. I hate bows. They're really boring to play against. So that's awesome. Now, as for special ammo. In Checkmate, you get special ammo a totally different way than you do in the base game. In the base game, you pick up bricks off of dead bodies and they give you 1 special ammo each. In Checkmate, you start with 2 ammo just like the normal game, but instead of picking up bricks off of people, you just build up special ammo shipments based on how many kills, assists, and deaths you're getting. So they list all the point values here. You're basically trying to build up to 100 points to get special. The nice thing about Checkmate is if you die, your special ammo retains as well as your progress towards your next special ammo. So it actually brings back an old aspect of the game where you could carry over ammo between rounds, which is cool, but it does slow down your overall special ammo gain and reduces the availability of special ammo in general. On top of that, kills from special ammo and heavy ammo do not build toward more special ammo. So you have to use your primaries more, you got to use your abilities more. I'm not even sure if abilities give you progress. They didn't say they didn't, so I'm guessing they do, but for sure you need to use your primaries. Jumping off the map's going to subtract progress from the special ammo meter too, which is cool, but you can see all the values here. It varies between playlists, which I also think is going to be really confusing for players, especially since comp and trials are different. So there's just a lot going on there. In Rumble, you're not even going to get awarded for dying or rewarded for dying, and that's weird. I don't have a huge problem with that, but that's going to cause extreme steamrolling. Like, bad players are just going to get plundered in that game mode, so we'll see. Yeah, so then for special weapons themselves, trace rifle, shotguns, and fusions got a 20% increase to damage. And it should be noted that the health pool for Guardians is getting increased by 15%. So they're actually getting buffed more than they needed to kill. So that'll be interesting. That's going to do certain things with lightweights to make them more forgiving, lightweight shotguns, and various other things. We'll see. It kind of makes sense that they do that since you're not going to have as much ammo with them anymore, so they might as well make them a little bit better. Glaives are getting a little increase there, and they left out grenade launchers and snipers, you might have noticed, which means snipers are going to have really bad body shot damage in Checkmate. This Checkmate is the sandbox now, I just keep referring to it as that. And grenade launchers, I think they'll still one-shot, but they're going to be not as good when you're just dealing damage with the blast radius of the grenade and not direct hitting, so we'll see about that. Heavy grenade launchers are getting their detonation damage reduced by 5%. So we're getting a 15% health increase, and grenade launchers are getting a 5% damage reduction. So they are actually going to be trash now. They're only going to kill on direct hits and just have no forgiveness. So now everyone's just going to start using machine guns. So get ready to switch to those. I have a few god rolls at the ready, so I'm fine with that. Don't really care. Here's a few of the exotic weapons they have to nerf when they make changes like this. Most of them are the weapons that are basically specials that have infinite ammo because they're primaries. Fighting Lion, Devil's Ruin, for example. Fighting Lion's getting its damage reduced versus players by 20%. It should be 100%. That gun is absolutely stupid. It's one of the dumbest weapons in the entire game. It's just an infinite ammo grenade launcher. I hate it. Sorry, Cammy Cakes. Devil's Ruin's getting its damage reduced. Again, another really stupid weapon. Glad that's getting destroyed. Crimson's getting its flinch reduced. Another stupid weapon. Glad that's getting nerfed. Forerunner. 20% damage buff, so that's more than our health is increasing, so that's actually going to do like 82 damage now. That'll be interesting. Symmetry's getting buffed. I don't know. I don't care about that thing. And that's all of the Checkmate changes. My takeaway from all this, I don't have a huge problem with the changes. I think the ability and super changes are going to result in much slower pace of play. I think the reduction in special ammo availability is going to also contribute to much slower pace of play. People are going to be less apt to push with shotguns, with fusions, because they won't have ammo for them as often, and they're going to try and really make use of the ammo they do get, which all results in slower, more methodical play, which for a competitive game is good. For trials, for comp, it's good. For 6v6, it's not, especially with skill-based matchmaking in the game. A sweaty lobby in 6v6 with these new parameters is going to be absolutely unbearable, but is it going to be much worse than where we're at now? Probably not. So it is what it is. We're already at such a low level. Why not mix things up in a different way? We'll have a different terrible version of the game instead of the one we have currently. That's what they're going for with all these changes. But my biggest gripe, honestly, and it has nothing to do with the balance of things and concerns, it's actually just the fact that the health pool is getting changed number-wise. This is going to be very jarring. I've gotten very used to what is going to kill a Guardian. You know, seeing certain numbers, I know if my damage fall-off's too much to kill. Now I'm not going to know that anymore because people have a different amount of health. Like, it's actually just going to throw me off knowing when I can kill someone or not with 1 or 2 shots of whatever weapon I'm using. So I really wish they could have just, rather than added 30 health, just adjusted all the damage numbers of weapons accordingly in the current 200 health, sandbox we're in. I think this is just going to make things a little bit confusing for a little while, but we'll get used to it. And it just really doesn't make sense to me that we'd end up at 230 health. It's such a weird number. Why not just keep it at 200? That one's more of a nitpick, but it is going to be annoying for a little while to adjust to that. Furthermore, with those ability changes, with the super changes, I think we're going to see a lot less people running high intellect. I think people are just going to give up on their supers as a whole. Just let them go. It's going to be too annoying to charge them. So where are people going to go then? Well, they'll focus into discipline or strength to get their ability that they wanted to use. Whatever emerges is the new broken option. Probably Arthas's Embrace. A bunch of 100 strength hunters going to be running around. But more likely, people are going to switch to Rezil, which they've already been switching to. And what does Rezil do? It makes last word not 3-tap. God damn it. Everyone's going to be running 100 Rezil, 100 Recov, and then 100 of what other stat they care about, which is not going to be intellect, so it's just going to be discipline or strength. That's going to be the new norm, I think. And I am not a fan of that. I think my biggest pain point, or one of my biggest pain points in this game, is resilience. I think having people have different health depending on that stat is really stupid. It completely changes time to kills for guns, and I think it's a complete joke. Like, it's a total joke that stat exists in the state it does. I think it's really stupid. I'd rather see resilience get fully focused on flinch resistance. I think right now it provides 10% flinch resistance. Change that to 30. Make it extremely good to spec into for getting flinch resistance, and then get rid of the HP changes for the resilience. I honestly think they should. I don't think that stat deserves to change your health pool. It makes guns really inconsistent, varying between different players. So seeing it all just get standardized, I think, would be better for the game. But it's not something they're ever going to do because they're not good at developing PvP games. Let's be honest here. There's no one left from the Halo days, apparently, because hip firing and jumping in the air is not even an option in this game, especially when you do both of those things together. So you can obviously tell there's no one left developing this game that actually have passion for PvP, but at least they're moving in a direction. A direction is better than just being stagnant, which is what we've been like for years on end now. All they've been doing for the past few years is updating the subclasses and ruining the game each time they do so. So here we are in our new meta. Hitting body shots is more punishing, and the netcode and connections will remain terrible, so hitting body shots will remain a commonplace thing because hitting someone's head when they're rubber banding everyone is really difficult. So now you'll be punished even further. And the people that are cheating, zimming, have recoil macros, high aim assist on mouse and keyboard, they will continue to hit you in the head and kill you at the optimal time to kill as you struggle to power through the flinch they're dealing to you, which is the current state we're in, and now it's just going to be exacerbated. So let's go. Here's the sandbox changes, guys. Those are my thoughts. My main takeaway always comes down to the last word, and last word got hurt from this. Therefore, the changes are bad. Not a fan. Hopefully last word gets saved one of these days. One of these days it will return. But in the meantime, it's trash. They slapped it around. That's it for the vid, though. We'll call it there. I've been yapping for a while. Thanks for watching. Peace.